Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, it is finally time, after a good while, to take a look at the episodes from creators that we've already covered, because a lot of them have released new episodes throughout the past week. Of course, in the past week, there was the whole New Year's shenanigan, and then, of course, there's BFDIA, and then there was Object Cringe, and then there was BFBOR, and I've just not really been able to proper focus an episode on it. However, now we can. However, there's honestly so much stuff where I'm not promising that I'll take a look at all of it today, because I honestly doubt it as well, because there's just a bit too many things, and some of them are really big. But we'll go roughly at order of importance and work our way down in terms of views, not, like in terms of like discussion, right? Alright, so we're going to start off here with the most viewed one out of the ones that I need to watch. It is none other than MBMB, because indeed MBMB 10, the full episode released, if you remember, about 2 months ago, which I watched about 1 month ago. We did the MBM and MBMB special episodes respectively. And MBMB 10A released. Back then we had the whole Saki arc, where apparently Saki ended up swapping so that their evil version, that what happened, like bonk on their head, right, could separate into 2 different bodies. However, the evil one would be the one that would keep the weird powers. So they end up keeping the weird powers, being like, okay, I'll give you memories if you give me a body. So they get the body, but then they're apparently going over and destroying the world. Oh no, what the hell are we gonna do? Frisbee and the other Saki are trying to figure out what to do, and in the meantime there's also a challenge that is happening. There's like a rejoin challenge, I think. There's both a rejoin challenge and a regular challenge. There's a lot of stuff going on, alright? But either way, I'm gonna get to relook at 10, because this is not 10B, this is just 10 as a global episode. So we're gonna watch it. Socks to sock. Go. Okay, so I have just watched MBMB 10, which is, wow, the 10th episode, I know, right? Crazy, of MBMB, or Mystery Box Madness better. So, I'm unsure exactly how to exactly tackle this, because of course I did take a look at that first half of the episode, and usually I talk about, the episode as a whole, so maybe I'm gonna give you like a quickish reminder, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna chat, right? We're just gonna go, scene by scene, and kind of discuss act by act, I guess, right? So we have the initial reminder of the Saki, or something. If I'm not mistaken, this was also, I think, one of the freaking post-credit scenes in like MBB9. However, we end up having Saki have a conversation in their own mind with the dumb Saki, right? So we have smart Saki and we have dumb Saki, right? And they end up having this thing like, yo, I want my own independence, because you keep controlling my body and it keeps being super weird, right? And I remember your memory that you want to know, right? So, since, like, of course, they want to know, we end up having, smart Saki be like, okay, fine, I will give you I will try to get you to split off from my body, as long as you then tell me the memory, you give me the story, alright? Which is interesting. I would say though that it's not exact. Okay, I don't exactly know how this memory works, right? Because it's like, okay, so you don't have that memory, okay? But is it that, for example, when dumb Saki tells you that your son's name is Anklet, right? Which they do say that, right? So if they say that, okay, your son named it Anklet, right? Now, what does that do to you? That's kind of the question that I don't really know about this type of mind, right? it's like, does it just literally take a takeover? Like, no, like, is it like you're being told the story? It's like, oh, or does it like make the memory flood back, right? Like, are you sharing a memory? Does it remember? Like if I told my like smart me, yo, remember that one time you ate cheese, then suddenly you'll be like, oh my god, I remember, right? Like you earn the details of the story, because I would be like, because it wouldn't seem that worth it to just have somebody tell you a story, because you still couldn't remember the details about how it happened, and somebody can't tell you a memory in 100% full detail HD, right? Like, there still needs to be that little bit of like a, like, there's just those details that can only be in the mind. Like, so when you're just telling a story, it doesn't quite hit the same as if you're saying a memory. So I'm not sure exactly how that works. I'm presuming it's the first one, where, like, you know, if you say your son's name after, it's like, oh my god, right? You can do that. Also, it's really interesting how you literally can't remember. Hold on. So you could remember that you had a son. That it's also interesting when you have like the memories that don't memories. So surely, like, did you lose every single memory that you had with your son? You know, it's kind of like one of those situations. But either way, after hearing the name, they're like, yeah, sure, we'll switch. Why not? So they end up doing that. But yeah, what is next? We have the intro. The intro. The intro is pretty cool. It's, to be okay, I'm gonna be 100% for real. The intro still is a little kind of interesting, because, like, yeah, it started off with some flashing there at the beginning when it's saying the names, and now it's just been in a void. I don't know if I pointed this out in the MBMB, but that does feel a little weird to have them be in the void. But it ends up being pretty solid. It's well timed. I like the wink from the Object King is pretty solid, and then, of course, the collage of everybody together is also pretty swag. But yeah, all right. Then we have ourselves the challenge that goes on. This is a relatively unimportant challenge, because, like, okay, the thing that's happening right here is that, like, we're mostly, in terms of, like, okay, in terms of the people in the competition, we are roughly set. Right, like, we're kind of set in place. We're in a situation where there is the Exolite Alliance, right? People who are kind of together. You know, there's Lance and Racket and Levery, who's in the relationship with Racket. And then there's Scissors, who's like was with someone. No, they were with the what you call the freaking pizza slicer, right? But they're kind of just there as well because they like Lance, right? Because they think like Lance is cool, or something. Oh, were they Levery's friend? Oh, no, they were. Oh, yeah. Whoa. I forgot. So Scissors was Levery's friend, right? And then Scissors, and then they kind of just held out each other when to ask for them to go to Rocket. So yeah, those two are friends. But basically, there's like a circle going on here, right? So then those two are going to be there, and then we end up having the other alliance, right, with Hammer, USB, and also Plank. Those three end up being the alliance together. I mean, there's some doubts about USB. However, there's no doubt in mind that USB is just an extremely strong competitor, even though they might be metagaming it a lot. You know, it's kind of difficult to say. Right, so while they're doing that, there's kind of those are set in stone. Nothing much is really gonna change, right? Like the kind of dynamics within those might change, but like big spearheaded changes in that is not really gonna be seen, right? Because like in a reality show, this is usually when we get to the fighting part, right? Like you're like or you understand who is doing, like, you understand the dynamics. They're roughly not going to change because we've been with each other a while, so you roughly get it, right? So for the meanwhile, it's not going to change unless some crazy voting happens. So that means that these are the types of challenges that just need to kind of be purely on the mechanical level important, right? Like they kind of just need to be important challenges where it's like there's a direct reason for the teams to need to have intense competing moments, right? That like they usually don't really have, right? But yeah. Either way, we end up having the challenge, which ends up just kind of being guessing the prices. Hot Sauce and Rubik's Cube, best season 1 duo, should have returned for real, those two. But we end up having them host it. And in the meantime, we also have the other challenge that we actually later on find out is 100% irrelevant. Love that. Love it when we write the region. So we have a rejoin, only for the rejoin challenge to not matter because the rejoiner says no. What do you mean nobody rejoin? Go pick the second place. There's a ranking. Whatever. But yeah, we end up having freaking CD bring everybody together, right, for a group therapy session. Now a couple of do they actually need it? Kind of, not really, yes, maybe. I mean, I guess, however, it's probably not the best idea to like have two opposing sides to therapy at the same time, you know, like it's kind of unless there's a highly collaboration, like, you know, like couples therapy is a thing. However, you know, that's for couples, like, you know, like these are just random people that dislike each other from a show, right? But yes, he's like, I understand that leaving the show has left us mad. No, it's just CD, I'm not gonna lie. Majority of other people end up being fine. So yeah, we have we have some things going on. The rejoin challenge, by the way, ends up just being to stack. It's just Jenga. Jenga is like, it's reverse Jenga. It's anti-Jenga. You need to make the tower as high as humanly possible, right? And you have an infinite stack of blocks without having it fall. Which is, yeah, I mean, the tactic that everybody uses, that like everybody who does well uses, just ends up kind of being the kind of roughly the obvious tactic, right? It's just make like you don't have a limited amount of blocks, right? Because if you had a limited amount of blocks, right, like 20 or something, you can make a like every. Like you're encouraged to play more risky. However, as far as I'm aware, everybody had an infinite amount of stacks, so that means that they could just make a gigantic base and then slowly place everything gigantically in it, right? And that means that like it's super rare because it's always going to be pretty flat, right? Like nothing's going to ever have enough. Basically, nothing's ever going to have enough elevation to fall, unless it's like at a corner, because there's just such a large base within it, and you could just make the base from the inwards to the edges, right? When you have an infinite number of blocks, like it's not that hard to do. However, it'd be hard to do if you only have like 20. So that way, yes, you could do that, but you only have a stack of like 3, and then you'd lose to somebody who's playing more risky. So then you have to play more risky and all that stuff, right? Like there's interesting ideas and possibilities to do with that. However, you know, that's kind of the life. And then we end up having Frisbee, who, remember, is smart. That one, remember how Frisbee's smart, because Frisbee's parents were like the lead scientists or something behind recovery. So yeah, Frisbee eventually decides to go over and to go over and construct the recovery, not the recovery, the split mind machine, which exists, by the way. Like you could, Frisbee just whips it out in like an hour. Oh, what, that easy? It's getting your mind onto a different person. That's free. I do that all the time. Yeah. Then there's Yod, who's eventually important, but yeah. Mr. Hat eventually ends up immediately losing the challenge to Stick. These are the two events in kind of the show end up, yeah, they're the in-betweeners, right? They're the ones who did not affiliate themselves with anybody. Why did these two not affiliate themselves with anybody? Because these two affiliated themselves with a different section already, right? And then that section got eliminated, right? So it's like Steak was affiliated with CD, but now C is gone, so there's not really much else, right? There. And same thing goes for Mr. Hat, was by force affiliated with the Pizza crew. However, Pizza's gone, which means that those two kind of end up being, just bouncing around in the middle, going like that. And they're kind of playing they're playing lone wolf pretty much, and just hoping that they can out-challenge it, right? But realistically, these two shouldn't be making it very far. Like I don't know how they would, because they're just unless they win a challenge, which they are proven to not be good at. I mean, of course, hold up. They wouldn't ever get it far. So like, I don't see how like somebody like Stick would be able to make it too far. Because as soon as like they don't win a challenge, that's just the easiest target. Because you reasonably presume that like two people from each should be good. You know, like it's kind of like that situation. But yeah, it seems like Stick does seem to align a little bit more with that with the freaking Science Alliance. Rather than with the Exolite. It does seem that Sticky ends up going with that. However, I don't I don't know. I think it just depends on the situation, right? What we decide to go with for them. But it'll be interesting to see if Snake ever tries a tactic, right? Because it just feels like it's an easy elimination. Because both teams could just agree, and even if half of each team disagrees, then it should still be solid. Yeah. Then we have the Fear Factor one with Scissors and Lance. Telling each other their fears. Apparently, Scissors is afraid of dogs, which is fun. Cause same. I said this the other time, but I'm gonna say it again. Same. I agree. Okay, this was a live story. If you're curious, no, a dog never did anything bad to me. Apparently, I was like, I literally, fun fact. Okay, should I say the story? I should say the story. I was like 3 years old, apparently, and then like a dog came up right to me and just barked really loud. So like from that moment on, even though I don't remember that story ever since, I'm afraid of dogs, which is really funny. But yeah, I want to better at that. But that's like a thing about me. But we don't get to find out what Lance's deepest fear is. However, it's apparently embarrassing. But yeah, the plot device and the switching the memories, and then Saki ends up dipping over to go destroy the city. Okay, yes, that is indeed a thing that happens. Now, what do I think about that? Well, I mean, look, Evil Saki is kind of playing with not much logic to their name, in a way where it's like, okay, they don't, and can you blame them? Not really, because they don't have that much knowledge, right? Like, they don't have that much to it, they just kind of end up living, and they end up chilling, like there's usually they just don't live for a lot. They're kind of they don't have a lot of the smartness, not necessarily. I'm sorry, they don't. There's a word that's not smartness that defines this way better. There's a lot of like the awareness, right, of like how to think of things that the dumb Saki doesn't have, because like it's kind of weird, right, when your mind gets split into two, like how it was in this situation. It doesn't work, because you need a part to be able to see the other far, right? It's like it's why it's so complicated, and I do like this arc quite a bit, because it does get you to think about it, and also, and again, I think I said the other time that it is a real disorder that people have. I don't think it's exactly in the same way that disorder works, because that disorder, like, I think like everybody has their own emotions basically within what is called DID, right? However, they end up being more of it. I don't really know how it works, but like they're kind of dividing. It's different like levels of experience, but they still have those same emotions, right? They're dealing with the same brain. They just have different ways of looking at it. Rather than here, where it really does feel like half of the brain's the one and half the brain's the other, right? So like that's kind of that. It's a cool arc. It's a cool arc. But yeah. Then we have a couple of things. They go over to the city. They can just go to the city. they can just do that. Marble costs $5, which is interesting. I would like to. Why does Racket think it costs $80? Oh yeah. Did I point this out the other time? I probably did. Like, this is what happens when you take a look at an episode the second time. Why $80,000? Look, I know that. Okay, Marble's pretty cool, but $80,000. That's a lot. Okay. Levery ends up winning. And then it did Who's the Predator. That's kind of fun. Okay, and then we end up having the conversation between Saki and Saki. Alright, so as usual, what I'm gonna say is that basically it is still absolutely 100% just a terrible idea for smart Saki to go over and talk to the evil Saki. It is not smart. It works. It ends up functioning, okay, because there was a hesitation, which there wouldn't be, like, again, realistically, I don't think if somebody's really out here on an evil rampage shooting lasers everywhere, I don't think that there would be enough hesitation to do that, right? However, let's say that there was, we end up having the conversation being like, hey, I realize that, like, I'm feeling Like there's always been a part of myself that's missing. So like even though we always thought that like we were two different people, right? That split off in the same body. However, that split up in the same body. However, we're not two different people. We're just the two sections of one person. So like I am sad, but also have the smartness, and you have the fun, but also dumbness, right? So that means that we end up both having significant problems because we don't have the complete picture. You need the fun to balance out the sad. You need the smart to balance out the dumb. Otherwise, in both situations, you're going to make bad overall decisions, right? Which is overall just it's a good way to look at it. Well, it was because, okay, we ended up figuring this out because of the fact that the Frisbee asked that, yo, why is Iwasaki mad? Feeling hurt and confused and by myself when I called him me. Oh. Wait. Hold on. When I called him me. When I, like, okay, so the smart Saki called them, oh my god, this is a crazy sentence. I'm trying to clock. Wait, when I smart Saki called him dumb Saki, me the dumb fake Saki. Okay, let's yeah. All right. I think I get it. Basically, when the other section of themselves called them the dumb one, they felt hurt because it's like, wait, you're me. Right, like so that makes sense. I understand. That makes sense. But eventually, Iwasaki, after hearing those words, because we ended up figuring out, oh, you were hurt. Even though you don't remember why you were hurt, but you were hurt because you felt that like we weren't the same, even though like it always felt like we were. So then we were, and it's quite nice. Again, yeah, I like this arc. It's unique. It's the type of thing that I feel like hasn't been explored that much. Again, as I said, I've still watched barely any object shows, like just because the number of literal episodes that I watched is rather high, doesn't mean that I've actually watched that many object shows, like a lot of the major ones haven't released episodes in the past 3 months, which means I haven't watched literally any of them, right? Like it just kind of, I have a rough recollection of what the current latest releases are. However, majority of shows have not released an episode in the past 3 months, which means that like I still think that the tagline is accurate, right? So I've still not watched that many object shows, but yeah, so far it feels like a completely unexplored concept. I've not seen it anywhere, I'm gonna be honest, but it's pretty cool. I think it's rather solid, but yeah, we end up having the whole situation. Oh yeah, by the way, this was taken before and after, whatever. Dude, the Beast Games joke is hilarious. It's so funny. What is it? Beast activities? Oh, it's so stupid. Somebody watched that one video about Beast Games. Hello, would you like to leave my show? It's great. Beast Games is so funny. Like, I don't know. There's like, dude, I really Beast Games has like this the Mr. Beast is so funny, because Mr. Beast is like this one thing where like, oh, I want to make mind games and everything. And like, yes, mind games are extremely cool in TV, but mind games are more interesting than just would I give up money or not. So yeah, okay, thank you, Mr. Beast, for doing that, and I'm glad that I got a show calling it out for what it is. But yeah, eventually we had to hear Geode and Mr. Hat talk in our next important scene of the episode. Maybe we can go for the 10 in a row here. There's so many. This is a massive episode. This episode is not planned. Okay, the only okay, genuinely, I was, when I saw that the rejoin challenge was completely pointless, that made me start going like, okay, hold on, couldn't we just get rid of it? Like then. Can we just have like a much faster reason for Mr. Pizza to be there? No, because it's like this episode. If it's an episode that needs filler, sure, but this episode doesn't need a filler. This episode's 36 minutes already. This episode's ginormous, and we need a freaking filler rejoin challenge. We don't. But like, okay, like it's not because it's annoying to watch. It's good, like, for the process of making it. Like we're just making big. Like put in the next episode. I don't know, but yeah. Mr. Hat eventually ends up having the conversation. Geode goes like, "Hey, I had a friend. Do we get to see the friend? I forgot. I forgot to see the friend. No, I don't think we do. But yeah, Geode apparently had a friend like that. And she was super, super nice, super close. And like eventually, I felt like she was overbearing, but then do that. Basically, it was just like Mr. Hat with Mr. Pizza, right? And I was like, yeah, I know that I need my space, but like, at the end of the day, I know that even though she was a little bit super close, I know that like she cared, right? And she would never do wrong, right? Which is nice. However, okay, here's the deal. I do think that we are playing up that we're playing Mr. Pizza's niceness up a little bit, because the thing about Mr. Pizza is that Mr. Pizza's niceness is like debatable. Because like, Mr. Pizza is nice, however, Mr. Pizza has also done some very mean things, right? Like, I'm sorry, Mr. Pizza just willy-nilly comes in and goes, "I am going to revoke your speaking privileges now." And it's like, okay, I mean, sure, nice friend that will always think about the best for you, but there's certain moments where like, okay, Mr. Pizza, you're also just dumb, right? We do need to acknowledge that like Mr. Pizza was very controlling, like yes, Mr. Hat needed space, but also the Pizza was taking up so much space, right? So I would like to point that out, as like a thing. That exists, right, as a problem, but we mostly did that in the other episodes, right? But like even then, it's like that's a detail that needs to be pointed out, right? But yeah, Geode gives the pep talk, and eventually just says bye bye. We get to find out that apparently Geode's dad made the weird complex. But which I like is a little bit of characterization. Mr. Silly was apparently name. I like that characterization. I think that's a very nice characterization that explains a lot about Geode, because you'll notice that Geode is kind of fun, dumb, whimsy. However, they play up fun, dumb, whimsy, but it's actually smart and devious. And you know what? That's the building. No, that's the place. It's troll. It's fun troll. Right, like you make a fun house, right? It's like, ooh, I'm so fun and quirky, ha ha ha. However, within it, there's all of these devious tricks, right? Like having the exit not be an exit, having the stairs be an elevator, and the elevator be to the stairs, right? Like and all that stuff. And like it's troll, and like a troll requires a level of being capable of having fun and whimsy, but also having deviousness and smartness, which is Geode. So you know what? That actually, when I heard that, I was like, what? That's cool. Like that was just sick. That was characterization 1,000,000, right there. There's that one quote. The peanut butter and smelly sandwich, and they're costing -$5.99, which is pretty cool. And USB wins the challenge. I mean, no, USB soloed so hard. USB just why do you know how much everything costs? You haven't. I mean, I guess did you need okay. Yeah, that's crazy, smart. You were in Jeffrey. What if there was inflation in the past 500 years? Hey, okay. But yeah, eventually we agree for the plot device to connect them back together, and then we end up having a charger and the friggin' mailbox end up being like, hey, could you tell us more about you now that you remember everything? So we end up knowing everything. So apparently at a blind date place, we end up having them meet Moai, who's the super nervous girl who tries to talk normally and kind of do that stuff, but they end up getting together because they're both kind of awkward and that stuff. I like the gag in the background of a date over there just going completely wrong. It's fun. But yeah, eventually we get to see the compilation of them being together and running around at the park and all that stuff as the times evolve, because that was apparently in the year 28, and then years progressively get warning, because remember, they live for ages and ages and so long, right? And they end up doing all the shenanigans, and they're marrying each other after 70 years, and then they just kind of live all their life. We end up having a couple new kids. That's a fire extinguisher. Hold on. another person. Wait a minute, that's a person, isn't it? That's like a person in the universe, right? That's like the fire extinguisher, cause like the friggin' it wasn't there like the guard, so they're alive. They exist, I think. Which is it's nice to see. But yeah, they also their kid Anklet ends up growing throughout the hundreds of years that it takes apparently. And they're relatively chilling. The Object King ends up doing a bunch of stuff. And maybe a teensy bit harsh. I'm maybe got Lop with on. Anyways, Wargies will die. Hey guys, look, I made a face. Good note. Thank you, Object King, for the useful contributions that you made. But look, one thing that I want to point out, yes, it's a very solid compilation. It's a very solid montage between them as Anklet eventually decides that they want to be in the city. And they form an escape plan because the city's so much better, and they end up giving them over to what was Anklet's probably relationship, I'm guessing, but they end up telling the Object King, which ends up being the betrayal. They go to jail, and as orchestrator of the plan, Anklet gets murdered, which means that and as they do that, Saki eventually goes, I have to leave. I'm sorry, we can't, I can't accept this. So they do end up leaving, managing to escape the barrier and everything. However, they miss the jump to the city, to like the next part of the run to the city, and end up smacking the head really bad and forming two people. So that is what happens, alright? Yeah. As far as the technical level, the mod is pretty cool. I'm glad that other people understand, because I've been one person to say, okay, one thing that I say, that I don't say here often because there's not reasons to say, however, acoustic covers or renditions of music are literally godsends. Have you noticed? You can, everything in the universe sounds good if you make an acoustic cover of it. It's just facts. And I'm glad that we're taking usage of the fact that acoustic covers just automatically sound really good and sound really emotional. And we're using that for these types of compilations, you know? I'm telling you, bro, make an acoustic cover Gucci Gang, and it's gonna go hard. Like, it works. But yeah, so that's the whole story arc. It was very fun. Was it fun? It wasn't fun. It was fun in the sense it was good. It wasn't like that fun to watch because it was like, you know, it was relatively sad, right? But yeah, they ended up remembering and solemnly going with it. A dog collar and the freaking peanut are relatively still a problem. They're still debating. And as eventually the Saki arc ends, we end up having the final debate of the elimination. Because remember, there was a challenge that happened. Oh yeah, my bad. Okay, so the debate that goes on here is basically we have the two alliances, which are going to definitively vote with each other. Again, the X-Elites, those four are roughly going to go, and they want to vote Planky, because Planky betrayed them, right? But then we ended up having the Planky, who is allied with USB and Hammer, right? So they're doing that. However, okay, so basically the deal is the X-Elites are more people. There are 4 compared to the other alliance, which is 3. Right, so that's an advantage that they have, which means that the other alliance does literally have to make numbers up, right? Like that's kind of what they got to do. So what they end up deciding to do is USB ends up making a trade offer, going like, hello, I would like to suggest that we vote off Mr. Hat. Because they are a middleman, and middleman's dangerous. So this is pretty smart because they end up getting Sticky on their side, right? So Sticky ends up voting for them, which means that it's officially 4-4, right? So now there's Mr. Hat's vote. So basically, the Mr. Hat vote ends up being a little bit of the dubious one, because if Mr. Hat ends up actually voting for Plank, it's a little bit complicated, right? Which, I mean, would be very fair for Mr. Hat to do. So I think that the alliance actually comes into the elimination probably disadvantaged, I'd say, because like I think that Mr. Hat overall had a higher likelihood, at least to their knowledge, to pick out the freaking, like, to pick out to pick out Plank than it would be to pick out Racket, right? Because they don't have too much to say about Racket, right? So yeah, I think they come into disadvantage about 4 to 5. I think I'd say for sure. However, thankfully, Mr. Hat had that whole conversation with Geode that makes them think that second chances are a thing that should happen now. Which means that they end up voting out Racket instead, which successfully makes the tie 4 to 4. And ends up having the revote. And of course, since Mr. Hat betrayed the extra leads go, okay, we're going to vote them as well. So then that means that pretty much everybody votes Mr. Hat off in the revote, and we end up having everything go ahead as planned. It's not necessary. Okay, if I was the Exolite, I wouldn't have immediately done that, because like you need to remember, you're trying to get Plank out and weaken the alliance. So that would have been a massive point. That would have been a massive point, because like they overpower them 4-2 now. 4-2, because Plank can't vote, right? And Mr. Hat was a part of it. So absolutely. So I think that for the Exolite, it would have just been way smarter to have to vote out Plank, because if you vote out Plank, you have way, like, it's a the Exolite's position is way stronger. Like, it is so much stronger than it would be voting out Mr. Hat, who already was the middleman. So yeah, middlemen are dangerous players because they can go in any direction. However, if you vote out your main competition, then you just have the middleman left, and the middlemans usually probably won't agree with each other, which means that you're gonna end up having a massive advantage. So I think they rushed the decision too much. I actually think that Planky formed the Exolites because they would just forcibly win the vote. So yeah, it's way better. But yeah, either way, in the exit interview doesn't end up getting done. Exit interviews are a story of the past, and we end up having them reconciliate with Pizza, and Pizza goes like, no, I don't want to join. I want to be my fucking friend, okay? That literally just here. Button tries to play the 2 episodes out, but no, Button doesn't get to play the 2 episodes out. Button, you gotta make your own show at this point. you gotta make your own show. You gotta make Mystery Box Madness Button. MBMB lowercase b. Like, you gotta do that. Like, it's not going well for you. And then the episode ends after the outro plays. There's a mild switch up on the outro, by the way. Because usually how the outro plays is that, like, it's on the pink background and then the character falls. But here we actually get a little variant of the outro where the character is falling in the middle while the outro is playing over there, which is pretty interesting. Is it better? I mean, sure. Yeah, why not? Like, I guess it's better. It's better. Okay, I'm not sure if it's exactly better because, it's kind of just a loop. However, in this specific situation, it's definitely better because, of course, like, Mr. Hat does the call while they're falling, which is, pretty good, right? So yeah, that's all cool stuff, and yeah. That is MBMB 10, the final of it. It's a cool episode. I think it explores a good chunk of themes that are actually like very solid. Like very original themes, original arcs, original ideas, right? That the show is currently experimenting, which I think is nice. Makes it for a good experience to watch. Absolutely. I think that also the current situation of like the show itself in terms of like the the competition aspect of it is also in an interesting spot. I think it's really interesting to analyze how it is in the actual reality show setting. I think it's doing a good job of really putting itself like a reality show competition where you're really thinking about the details of votings and okay, these characters are together and then they're gonna do this, but what if you try to align with this person and there's USB and then there's everything else and then there's everything else and then what if, and the problem is, you know, what if Rack and Celebrity end up actually breaking up as the freaking trying to say, right, as you know, because people keep trying to break them up, so then they break them up, there could be a massive problem and there end up being the division of the two alliances. Like, see how like there's a lot going on in that aspect of the game as well, which is something that I think non-competition shows don't always tend to do. Like, they do non-competition just to have characters do character development. However, they also don't take in that additional advantage of non-competition shows and do character development and also have an interesting metagame function, right? Which is what this show does that I think a lot of other ones don't. I've been talking about MBMB for 38 minutes. We need to move on. Next thing. Okay, next. Alright, and the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is Benson's Battle. So Benson's Battle is Season 2 of another show, which means that we're going to watch Season 1 first. Season 1 is titled Object Passtime. So, if you were curious, I mean, I'm guessing that this is like an Object Fool thing. I haven't watched Object Fool, but at this point I just know what it is from watching. It's contemporaries, you know, roughly 2 minutes-ish per episode that happen extremely frequently. I mean, Object Pastime started 3 weeks ago, and it's already done a full Season 1, majority of a Season 2, right? Like, it's just, we really are just doing tons of that, of this show. So, yeah. Alright, well, there's a lot of videos to look at. They're all really short, though. Object Pastime 1, hands-on. Alright, that is episode 1 of Object Passtime. And yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make a 40-second episode with a 10-second intro and a 20-second outro, that's roughly how fast you gotta do it. The challenge is to push the button and then a can of snakes ends up pressing it. In EC. I really, really hope this is a nake reference. Please be a nake reference. It's so perfect. The snake push the button, like the challenge of every nake episode. Like, it's gotta be. Come on. It just has to be. Majority of the characters, like a bunch of the characters don't even get any line. I don't know who this lie computer even is. With this bull, don't know who that is. This card fella, they look cool, but I don't know who they are. I'd probably eliminate the bull because they're the most theoretically boring. I don't know, bro. I don't know how to predict these shows. It's kind of hard to talk about. Object Passtime 2, no match for the Mime. How does it feel for the show that you made in like 3 minutes to have more views than the show that we actually work on? Because Ties is so good. More people should watch Ties. Anyways, we have some the elimination where a Super Bowl gets eliminated. I like the joke with Super Bowl. We have a balance beam challenge where everybody ends up exploding because bad side actually does have a bomb strapped to their chest. I thought that was a joke. In the balance beam challenge. Hey, I like good side and bad side. It's a cool character design. It's a little bit too much on the yin yang, but I mean, I like characters and multiple characters, but characters are just like, yo, it's good and bad, like yin and yang, like, you know, it's kind of okay. But thankfully Mime, since Mime can probably construct like invisible things, which I think would be a cool character trait, so I'm just gonna guess is what it is. It may manage to protect themselves using a shield that they made, and yeah. Everybody else is up for elimination. Good and bad side could be eliminated because, of course, they were mean, or Plank could eliminate because they didn't do anything. I'm going to say that since good and bad very obviously did kind of a dumb thing. I'm going to say that they get eliminated this time rather than Plank, even though Plank yet again didn't have too many scenes to their name. Alright? Now, the length of the episode slowly starts increasing. Episode 3, Boiling Point. I love putting eliminated contestants in a void where all they can do is talk to each other because that's an original concept. No, it's not, but I don't think it is, at least. I've heard that it's an Object Fool as well, but so I'm just gonna diss it for the sake that it is. I really like the gag though of good side or bad side being angry that good side is in jail, even though they should be in jail, but the good side shouldn't be in jail. So like half the bars. So the good side's legs can walk and have their arms, but bad side can't and can just speak, which is fun. I actually like that quite a bit. So yeah, what's our host called? They're like British. You're called Pops. Yes, Pops. That's the character from regular show. And you know, Benson Battle is the character and the whole season 2. So that is the name of season 2. So I'm presuming that there's a theme going on here. Twinkie the kid, the weird police officer that didn't talk that much, gets eliminated. So, alright, I already predicted the good side and bad side because, of course, they did bad things. However, it seems like in this type of show, we're not voting based on direct performance. We're voting based on how interesting they are. So, yeah, let's say, okay. I wouldn't have predicted them anyways. Majority of the characters end up not managing to survive the lava, except good side and the can of steaks. I don't know how the good side and bad side eventually win. Can of steaks apparently just, like, I'm extremely indifferent to this conversation. And then the other fellas just fucking dunk themselves in the lava. What? Okay. In the meantime, we have ourselves the vote to eliminate. Who gets out? Who didn't do much? Lie detector. Okay, let's go with that. I have no idea, but I'm just gonna, okay, sometimes you just gotta believe, alright? Sometimes you gotta, but I don't really know, but I just gotta believe, alright? Alright, episode 4, 3 minutes long. Avengers, assemble! Go. And here is the classic episode with a debut that has characters that are way too cool for a show that gets made in 3 hours. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, we have, first of all, Walk the Plank, end up getting eliminated with 33 votes. Yeah, my bad. I don't know. I tried pulling in a wild card lie detector, but it actually didn't work. I'm not gonna lie. Plank got it firmly eliminated by like how many, like the freaking 20 more than the next person. It was a demolition job, alright. But then we end up having ourselves the debut. So we have ourselves a couple of characters. I really like a couple of these. I think that one of my favorite gags in debuts is when people interact with the next person over, right? In terms of like the actual like it's like, oh, you are so dumb, and then the next person is like, what, me? Right, like, you know, like that type of stuff. Which I always enjoy. I think that's fun. So like this debut does that so much, and it just has a lot of interesting ideas here for these characters, you know, like the coconut being super curious, we're like, hey, should I drink me? Would I do that? What would I do? Like, you know, that's kind of fun. The drone and wanting to be like a freaking shipping drone, the emoticon ball, dude, that character is so cool. Dude, what an idea. Get them in the show. That's actually a crazy idea. A GOM or GOM being like from the predictor fella, and like, oh, they're the predictor characters, so they're out here. Like, that's super cool as well, right? Same thing goes for like the pineapple side, and then the next person pointing over. We have dude, the Red Bull gives you wings fella is also really cool. There's so many cool dude, the amount of cool characters here. There's a criminal amount of cool characters, okay? Like, we need to stop. Even the new 2DS XL is cool. Cause like it's the goofy screen and then the more thought out controls. Like, yes. Dude, yes. This shit's amazing. What is this? But yeah, who's actually rejoining? I don't know. I mean, it could be anybody. Again, I mean, this show does get a decent amount of votes, but again, with this, it's more likely to just be whoever has the most polling power, you know, to get people to vote for their character. So it could be realistically anybody, you know. Like, yeah, it can be anybody. Oh yeah, the blood jelly bean being evil, but they're like they sound evil, but they're actually really nice. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is collecting pronouns like infinity stuff. I just read that. I just scrolling. Okay, whatever. Dude, this is great, but you know, sad that it's in the show where the character, like, why did the big show have lame characters and the small shows have like the coolest debuts ever? I always feel like the debuts in the bigger shows are low-key worse. All right, episode 5, the longest one yet. Take a hike. Alright, so that is episode 5, where we have, I know most of its length arrives from the fact that, of course, we need to announce the votes. And it turns out that the person with the most pulling power was the predictor of Lego Perry, brick, who like Perry the platypus, but instead it's like two Lego, one by one Lego pieces stacked on top of each other. I mean, it's a fun character design. It's a little it's a little bit on the more underwhelming side because of course now a character can like speak, but I don't mind it. Grom nearly gets in with 17. So yeah, you tried. Look, I promise. If I get eventually, which I should design one, I should design one pretty soon. An object zone. Pinky promise, alright, that it will not be in every debut of every show ever invented, alright, a pinky promise. But anyways, Perry ends up, of course, winning the series. No, not the series. The series, yes. They end up winning the challenge in a fun way, though, which I like. Usually, you know, we have the contestant just kind of YOLO it, go like, "Oh, I am gonna do this because you're safe, because you are safe." All right, like, and then there's no actual reason, right? So we end up having them kind of do super mysterious spy stuff and going underground. We discovered that the underground layer thing where everybody's been chilling is actually just underground by like 4 meters. And then they end up being safe. And then everybody else is up there. I like it. We're doing a bunch of jokes with lie detector. We're using cup and the kind of snakes a lot. It's gotta be cards time to go. I mean, like, they did the mime joke, right? And it was a pretty good joke. However, we've not really tried to develop this joke much in the past, like, 3 episodes-ish, right? So, I would personally start to consider just getting rid of them. However, do I predict that? Okay, I am gonna predict that. I'm predicting that because yes, kind of snakes is, however, kind of mean. Oh God, does kind of snakes get out? No. Okay, I keep getting it wrong because I keep going bold. So, you know what? I'm going to retract my bold statement because instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to predict kind of snakes because they keep getting nearly the most out. They're kind of the mean one. They get screen time, but it doesn't really seem to be saving their vote counts. So, yeah, I got to say they get out here. In this situation, who got the least votes? I'm curious. The freaking emoticon. No, emoticon nearly got nothing, which is sad. They're so cool, right? They're sad, bro. They're like sick. And band didn't even do anything. They could have done something. Like there's a lot of ideas, dude. This was a good set of debutantes, absolutely. But yeah, if this does do the object full thing of becoming animatic battle, as seeing these actual characters be a thing, I would be a fan. All right, I would be quite a fan. Yeah, alright, I think it's time for episode 6 of Object Passtime. The 6th episode of Object Passtime. We start to go down in length again because, you know, debut's ending. Little rats, here goes. Okay, I mean, I got the prediction wrong. Yes, I did. I got it wrong by a technicality, though. Come on. Like, that was a technicality. Like, they literally did get the most votes. But since we didn't put good time and bad, like, good side and bad side into the freaking good time and bad, yes, sans, good side and bad side, they get eliminated for this instead of, what, I don't know, just they freaking do a compromise, make them forcefully lose the challenge, you know, or like not show up entirely in the next episode. Or like double their votes the next time, right? Like just anything that's not just eliminating them. That's kind of lame. No, isn't that lame? Oh, I forgot. I guess I have to know and void the results of the elimination, especially when the elimination was super clutch. It was 32 to 31. Yay! You know, like bro. Okay, whatever. We end up having the freaking finding Gordon's treasure, who's some weird algebraic square. And we end up having the kind of stakes end up teaming up with Perry the Lego. I'm gonna call him Perry the Lego. And then that means that Mime and the Cup end up going over to Lie Detector to try to team up, and they team up, which means that they have officially gotten mildly the same. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. It's not these alliances haven't been doing shit. I didn't even know Cup and friggin' Mime were in an alliance because I haven't seen Mime at all, you know. But either way, being in an alliance with Perry the Lego is actually a good idea because, you know, they are very good at finding things. And so far, the act of getting to a thing or finding a thing has been the tactics, and Perry has been pretty good at them. However, you know, we're gonna need to see if there's more of these tactics to come in a more like technical challenge, you know. But so far, technical challenges haven't existed. Jolly good show. Now, it is time for the elimination. Who's getting eliminated? I don't know. The Mime doesn't... I don't know why the Mime keeps getting no votes. I'm gonna be honest, that's not something that I quite understand. So how many votes did they get every time? Card code 11. I don't know why they don't get votes. Because like, I'm looking at them like, they're not that interesting. You can make a side character interesting, but they're just not it. Like, I think Perry's way more interesting than Card is. So that means I'm just getting along. Lie Detector keeps getting so many votes, though, that despite this alliance, I guess I'm going to go with the safe bet and predict Lie Detector. Again, there's not too much time for opinions to change. Like, the episodes are nearly daily. Episode 7. Room for one more? Okay, so that is episode 7. I'm not gonna lie, the kind of snakes bias involved here is immense. We write him just constantly. Okay, that way, you know, maybe like, okay, maybe if I write them a lot, they're not gonna get out. See that they keep getting out, then invent another character to get eliminated when they get more votes, rather than invent a compromise, because we don't want kind of snakes to get eliminated. And then after we realize that, okay, kind of snake is just gonna get out before being mildly villainous the entire time, we're just gonna make them win the next 2 challenges while still getting that same amount of screen time. The bias is crazy. How are we having biases in screen time with only 4 people on it? Whatever. Lie Detector ends up getting out. Goodbye. Yeah, that's roughly expected. The challenge is balance beam, but circle. I know, right? Crazy. We end up having Cup and Ball end up losing their legs, so they can't really do anything. The Mime stops them with a wall, however, comes in Perry the Platypus from below and hits them with the attack and manages to successfully take them down. I mean, I guess that would work, although, I mean, like, for Perry to have dug a hole, right, and then gone back up so that the Mime would fall into it, that means that that hole would be allowed, because if you dig a hole that's deep enough, then you would have you would have been out, right, instead of not being out. So that means that, like, why was it? It's that when Mime falls down the hole, they're out. However, when Perry is falling down the hole, when Perry was there forming the hole, they didn't get out. You know, it's kind of one of those. I don't know. That's kind of not facts. But oh well, kind of snakes ends up managing. Oh yeah, the bite on the Cup and Ball was actually crazy. That was pretty fire. But yeah, they end up doing a villainous activity and yeeting off Perry the Platypus. I don't think they're gonna get eliminated. I don't know who is. Again, I'm just gonna predict to go second each time because that seems to be a good strategy. Cup and Ball is getting eliminated. Let's say with that. All right. In the meantime, the eliminated contestants managed to escape. They managed to dig themselves out from the reef, and yeah, they are on the loose. Let's see what happens. Episode 8. Why can't we be friends? Alright, that is Object Passtime 8, Why Can't We Be Friends? And we end up having, a mysterious sudden quality increase. We have backgrounds now, we have characters that look better. You know, they have more assets now that are good. Kinda Snakes is the most obvious improvement, but many other characters have significant improvements as well, like that police officer. A bunch of them, a couple of the new characters don't really, but majority of the ones that were part of the cast, yeah, I see even Lie Detector, the Plank, they end up having relatively solid improvements. Perry the Lego doesn't really seem to have one too much, but yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest. It's looking like it's kind of setting itself up. You know, if it wants to do an animatic battle, it can do an animatic battle. But with the sudden quality increases, oh, everybody's here. That way we get to characterize more people, right, and all that stuff, right? And oh, the episodes are longer, and oh, we have backwards now, and oh, we're doing this now, and oh, you know, we're doing the characterizing it. And yeah, I mean, it's looking like it, but will it do it? I mean, I would realistically not recommend it because it's probably not a good idea to have two major shows going on at the same time if you're one person, right? Ties is already a big show at the end of it, and it's a big show that gets work done very fast, to be 100% honest with it, right? Which means that I would be kind of half surprised if it managed to keep everything going. However, hey, I have no idea how exactly it's going, but look, maybe it is going to do an animated battle. I don't know. Anyways, we have the challenge, which is to do all of the previous challenges. Then doing that, by the way, it ends up that the freaking can ends up, no, the cup and ball ends up winning by managing to just stretch their head out really high and manage to make it to the top of many things very early, right? So that's been their main tool, because Kind of Think was too busy fighting off against evil Pops, who happens to exist. So yeah, good job. Kind of Thinks or parry the Lego to get eliminated. I don't know. I mean, Can of Snakes has historically always been the character that gets out, so I'm gonna continue on the prediction and say that they're the character that are getting out, because it just makes sense, right? So yeah, for a minute I thought this was the finale, because like usually they make this the finale, not the semi-finale, right? So but no, this is the finale actually, which is that's like interesting, I guess. But yeah, we also get some lore drop at the end that apparently the fella that dropped in, which is the pop-up pirate, yes, that's what you're called, ends up you're not a pirate, but you're like the pop-up machine game. Ends up apparently, since they came from Avant direction, which is the direction that was originally pointed at as the one from the speaker box that was in the void, ends up apparently maybe having something to do with the speaker box that's in the void. So you see, we're starting to set up a broader lore, we're improving everything, characters are getting more screen time all around that aren't just the main cast. You'll notice how we're trying to set things up for a future? Because we're trying to set things up for a future here. Alright? Okay. 2 more episodes. They're all very short because, you know, they're the weird finale ones. Episode 9, Evil Filler episode. Alright, that is Object Passtime at number 9, which is the Evil Filler episode. So we end up having the 6 people that were walking for no reason, but because they just felt like it. Yes, they walked and they ended up going over back into the white part of the world because apparently but there was the explosion, right? And it made the world fill with color. Except for where the explosion didn't reach, in which case it stayed white. Okay, it's absolutely not where this show is going, but imagine if this show happens and it had the explosion that filled up the world, and then imagine the next show, like Benson show, whatever, imagine it was set on the exact opposite side of the world, right? It has its own explosion, and then 100% of the world is filled, 50% from one, 50% from the other, and then it looks sick as fuck. Imagine. They're not gonna do that, but it'd be cool, like, you know. We end up having the eliminated contestant be Kind of Snakes, because obviously I think that I still don't know what's on the can. Like, it looks like an 8, but it's just 8 because like the 8's the creator. By the way, I don't know. I also find it pretty humorous how we got the one guy who would not know about if it was the record number of votes or not, to say that it's the record number of votes. Like, yes, it's great. But will they win? Maybe. I don't know. They did say that they didn't enjoy the experience of the show, which is pretty rough. Because they might, I don't know, like, the people usually like contestants that enjoy object shows. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say the winner's parry the Lego, even though I think it's less likely that it is. I'm gonna be bold and say that is my prediction. All right, finale time. Jolly good show, obviously. Alright, that was episode 10 of Object Passtime and the finale, and I got it wrong. I mean, yes, obviously they were gonna win. It wasn't gonna be the character that doesn't speak, the debutante, but I was just thinking that maybe there was gonna be this one time a little bit of a switch scenery, but no, I mean, it makes perfect sense to why they would win. Everybody else wants Cup and the Ball to win anyways in the show, so like it's all very fair. And they do indeed win and get and they get like a lollipop, my bad, and then they apparently get to host season 2. However, they go back to the void. So you know what? Maybe we are actually setting ourselves in the other side of the world. Yo, please, that would be sick. But yeah, apparently just vote who to host. What do you mean vote who to host? The Google form's still here. Is it done? Is it over? Over 200 votes is enough, and I want to stop while the host I want is in the lead. What were the options? Were there options? Was it just an empty thing? Because in my opinion, that was one of my favorite BFDIA things. I think the fact that there was just a global poll, who hosts the next, it was just globally. Like, you just typed something into the field, and then whatever the hell the most people typed into the field were. Like, it was a bold decision. Because for all that they knew, they could have just typed it, like, everybody could have gone together and typed in 4, and then they're fucked. Right? Or they type in some dumbass character. Like, I think 2 was, or like 1, for example, was an option, because 1 was like a recommended character. So you could have 1 hosting. That would have been hilarious. Right? But imagine if everybody got together and did that. So, like, that'd be bold. But my presumption is that it was just a option poll between like some regular show characters, because I mean the next show it's called like, again, season 2 is called Benson show, right? Who's just another fella, so there's, it's kind of okay, yeah, fair. All right, well, let's watch. Wow, what a voice crack. Let's watch Benson's battle, starting with Benson's battle 1. Clip that. Alright, that is Benson's battle 1, and you see, I mean, at least with this episode, we're putting in a focus in on the contestants. So, new cast, new host, new everything. We might actually be on the other side of the world, I'm not even gonna lie. So who are the contestants? They get introduced one by one, which is very nice to have. Taking this, sacrificing the length of the first episode for the sake of just having a general idea of every character, but so that way we can have the fast episodes later. Yes, please. Great idea, just great idea. So we have the 7 notebooks. They have differing personalities, probably. The pink one is more super cheery. The black one's super evil. The red one's like kind of cool, I guess. And I don't really know what the other ones are. I'm sure each one of them's got a personality, but I don't. What would they be? Because it's not Undertale. Because there's a black one. Like there's not a black soul. That's like hate, but that's like a glitch tail thing. That's not a thing, right? I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. I'm sure they have personalities. The chum bucket. They're kind of fun. They have yellowish teeth, which I think is a very nice detail. Football Junior, that's kind of like the mean one. Honey Mustard, they're the kind of snakes of the edition. Sick ass design, bro. That's crazy. You see, this is what I don't make care, because I need to make care that looks cool. I can't be competing with Honey Mustard. Look at this. Kill count, which is fun. It's like it's just it's just a clock, but they're interesting. They're pretty nice by being a kill count. Still Drop, who's super omega relaxed. Tever Ball, who's apparently the cousin of Cup and Ball. That's fun. They're like another ball game. Then we have the Voodoo Doll, who is I don't know. They're mysterious. They have the only Voodoo Doll has that like be a POR style, where like their outline is also colored, depending on the character, which is interesting. Like their limbs as well. So yeah, we end up there having the challenge being to record a viral video. They do indeed. I mean, okay. Friggin' Sean Bucket records a viral video, I guess. I mean, we don't know if it went viral, but we're just guessing that it went viral. Anybody it's up for elimination. I mean, my presumption is that Football Junior gets out because they were mean. Or it could be Stillwater, but I kind of like Stillwater. Football Junior. Let's say that you get eliminated. Let's go with that. Episode 2, All Talk, featuring Towley and Snowy Joey. Alright, that is episode 2. We end up having the eliminated contestant be Voodoo Doll. Why? You know what? I don't know. Because 73 is a lot. I mean, like, that's a big number, you know? That's like twice as much. Why? What did we do? What? I mean, you were like mildly creepy, but I was like, interesting. No, what happened? What in the world? What? That's weird. Okay. Yeah, what? Yo, I'm mad sure. Yo, no, I don't know how to predict for these shows. Predicting these shows is impossible. People just do what they want. But yeah, we end up having the contestant that wins the next challenge, because the challenge is to what's the challenge? Oh yeah, for make a place with eliminated contestants to go. Yeah, I mean obviously Honey Mustard being a bee ends up making a bee nest, which they can make in record time. So yeah, they kind of already had that there. So yeah, that makes sense. Really enjoyed the joke of kill count counting up when the voodoo doll got yeeted. Like that's just funny. Who's getting out? Okay. The 7 notebooks pretty much don't show up in this episode, so maybe they could get eliminated. That would make sense. Tever also didn't show up, but they never gave votes. I'm gonna say 7 because they got the second most, and also didn't speak in this episode. That makes sense. It seems like Voodoo Doll ends up landing back in the main part and gets collected by somebody, which means that shit's going down. Right? Shit's happening. I'm telling you, that's animatic. Let's go to episode 3. You're fired. I'm telling you, bro, we're on the road to making animatic battle. I'm telling you, these people are getting collected like the Infinity Stones. But yeah, we end up having apparently. Okay, look, the place with this show's getting out is really not that far away from the place where they were getting out. Because the green fella, Gerson, whatever they're called, they end up making it over there in like about 1 second. So like, it's really not. It's like the world is smaller than we think. We end up having the eliminated contestant, I think, with 45 votes to 7 notebooks. So I got it right. But it seems like people actually did notice that Teverball didn't do much, because I think they got 43 votes, I think. Hold on, let me check. Hold on. Teverball. Yeah, Teverball is the only one. And I mean, Teverball doesn't ever actually get saved here. In the sense of like, they don't really get that much screen time to work with here. They can't, like, they don't either, because the challenge, nobody talks during the challenge. It's just the alarm clock ends up just having the ball land on them, and then they're safe. John Bucket also doesn't do much, and they could get eliminated. However, I'm gonna say it's the safest option to just go with Teverball here, because they nearly got voted off the other time, and nothing has happened for them to get less votes this time. So I'm gonna say that it's time for the Teverball to go. But yeah, alright, it's time for a relatively long episode, I mean comparatively speaking to the last two. Episode 4 is titled When Me and My Gang Pull Up. Alright, so that is episode 4 of the show, which as the formula dictates, and the formula has to be followed by the letter. We end up having the debut episode today as the eliminated contestant. It's Football Junior with 75 votes. Why I don't fucking know. I don't know. These votes are so random. It's like last time Football Junior didn't do anything, completely safe. Not even a problem. This time Football Junior continues to not do anything, and so does Teverball, and Football Junior gets for some reason double vote. What happened? what changed? I'm lost, bro. I don't know why these votes are the way that they are. But anyway, we end up having the debut. So the debut is interesting. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. this debut is like an all-star set of recommenders. Like, who, okay, recommenders that we recognize, okay? ABC3, because they're from both a Character Supernova Super Show and also the recommend, and also Mega DL Show, that's the Predator fella, okay? Yes, that. Then there is Armsman, who's Newbie. Newbie is the creator of the Object Object, okay, as far as I'm aware. Then, who else do we recognize? We recognize, I'm just letting the video play out here, because, you know, I'm not, do you think I'm prepared? You think I'm prepared when things happen? But yeah, we've got a Doghouse, who's Hubba Bubba. That's a character from Object, whatchamacallit, right? There is Earthquake Detection. That's from Piggy Pug. Piggy Pug is the creator of Supernova Super Show, right? And also president of a bunch of other stuff like BFDIA, right? Like there's some there's some popular, there's some creators out here making up this lineup. I think there's somebody else, yeah. Earmuffer. I'm not watching any Earmuffer show because, however, it got recommended. I should have watched it, but it got unlisted before I could watch it. Is Carmen's show ever coming back? Again, I got recommended to watch it, but like I couldn't ever because it got taken down. Hers. Was there somebody else? I feel like there might have been, but I'm not 100% a remember. Oh yeah, there is Nectarine from Cuba. Present as like a co-creator of Google's Diplomatic Show, also makes their own show. It's called Another Color for Show, which people know about. Like you see, like this is a pretty freaking elite tier set of recommenders, and I wonder if there's any bias. And even then, the other people that got picked are also pretty cool. I mean, like my favorite personally is probably just Fast Food. That character design is sick. Okay, I hope that they get in. And I also think that mugshot looks extremely cool. So I hope one of those two will get in, based entirely on what I think. But it's not gonna be that. Episode 5 is titled "Watch the Post-Credit Scene, Please, Please, Pretty Please." Alright, that's episode 5. So, it turns out that, you know, the All-Stars, maybe, I don't know, they didn't have enough pulling power. I don't know who did, because the most voted people had 200 each. I'm sorry, what? No. You know what? Nah. That cannot be a thing. Wait, what? How, I don't, there's no way. How does this voting work? How did this? I don't know. These are suspicious. These freaking shows, these freaking like these object fool shows, those get like way too many votes. Like really in one day you're about to get. Okay, no, it was 5 days, but I went 5 days. What could you like? How many votes? That's the top 3 or 700 votes by themselves. What the hell was the total? The video only got like 3,000 views. And that's right now, like within those 5 days, bro. I don't know. But wait, the rejoiner is Captain Obvious, who obviously wins the challenge. Haha. But didn't actually intend that pun. But yeah, they obviously win the challenge. We're saying, yo, this quicksand, obviously not quicksand, bro. But yeah, everybody else is up for elimination. Why Thomas? Wait, what are these? What are these voting icons? What are these voting codes? Wait a fucking moment. Hold on. CHM, HON, Thomas, a lie, and Bal. Lie? Okay, you know what? I have no idea what is going on. But either way, the other fellas end up getting confiscated to by a star fella who looks like the freaking host of Woes, and they end up I don't know. Look, they're doing an animatic. We gotta be doing an animatic battle. This is the most obvious doing an animatic battle I've ever seen. Come on, there's no way we're not gonna have a show. Everybody gets confiscated and say, "Oh, hey, it's ready for our show with 40 people in it." Yeah, right. Like that's gotta be what we're doing, right? Alright, well, it's time for episode 6, which might be the finale, because I don't know, the earthquake detection kit, I'm just calling it the Piggy Pug character, now, end up being the and they're predicting that the show won't make it to the finale. So I don't know. Maybe it won't. The episode's pretty long. All right. I guess let's find out by the only way we know how to, watching the episode. Alright, so that is episode 6 of Benson's Battle. So, we end up having the honest, I guess, discussion, between, there in the outro, but, apparently we are, I mean, look, we're not interested in Object Foo anymore. Therefore we gotta just make we want to make something bigger out of this cast. So obviously we're gonna do an animatic I'm telling you, we just skipped the part of it. We just skipped the first. We're just like, oh, okay, we just skipped the part where the small show has to finish it. Just get to the big show already. Okay. Yes, exactly. I'm vibe with this. Look, personally, my personal opinion on these is that they're kind of I don't really know why people do them that much, to be honest, because like it's small, it's fun for a viewer because it's relatively quick, right? Like they don't have to commit a lot to watching it. Debuts are interesting, right? So that way you can get relatively quick because of the quick turnaround time. You can quickly recommend the character and see them, right? And since, you know, there's a bunch of them is short and they're gonna have multiple seasons, right? They can have people usually drop in, right, and do the whole like they have more of a chance of actually getting into the debut vote, rather than in other big shows where it's like it's literally impossible, right? So like I understand why a viewer would like it, but personally I don't know. I think these kind of shows they're a little unsatisfactory, you know, like because like what are we doing out here? We're just having a show where contestants get to kind of speak. You get to see what they could be, but then they are not anything, right? Like I recommend these shows for the type of starting out, right? Like I mean they're solid, but I think that having these shows be continued, not really a necessity, right? Like I think, but however they're pretty solid for exactly the purpose that Object Foo is, right? It ends up being a stepping stone into a major project. In the same way that Object Foo is the most popular version of his genre, and then ends up turning into the super popular animatic battle. It still needs to exist to act as the community building and also the practice required to both have a fan base that's going to watch a bigger show and also, you know, just kind of be around for it. So then heading into this is the same story, right? We end up having people watch it, right? At the end of the day, both this and the other show, an Object Passtime, end up doing pretty well in terms of view count. So there's the people that are interested, there's the recommenders that are also invested, right? And that means that there's hopefully interest into following the show into the bigger version of itself, which then people outside of the show, of the niche that watches these smaller shows, ends up dropping in and go like, yo, this is pretty cool, right? So I see what's happening here. One thing that I am gonna criticize is that, like, okay, hold on. I looked at the intro for apparently what is the next season, which is titled Interstellar. I'm not gonna lie, the characters that are left out are the coolest ones. What do you mean the freaking what? Honey Mustard and the Kill Count don't get to combat? They're like the top two. They're like the goats. Where did they go? What do you mean? What is this? That's crazy, bruh. No, that's actually crazy. We end up like getting the best characters and not to join. Okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've not discussed it too much, but it's pretty much just like this what are you called? I don't know. The captions haven't been on for the last few episodes. I don't know why. They should get back on. But yeah, the Cosmo, the Star, whatever you're called, and there's been a Benson, goodbye, and then they come in and make the show with those people. But yeah, I mean, overall, it is cool. I enjoy. I would have absolutely included the people from this season though. Kill Count and Honey Mustard were like, you could tell that they were already kind of fun in that small show setting. And I mean, it's like, oh well, but if they did well in this show, then you don't need to be in the other show. Like, so like I understand why the top performing fellas from the last season, which finished, aren't here. Alright, so like I understand that perfectly. However, I don't understand why the fellas that were doing that here aren't for this season. Because they, oh well, yeah, but if they did well, they don't need to. Yeah, but they did it. They didn't do anything. You know, like they didn't. Yes, like oh, who came back? Did anybody even come back? Chum Bucket. Okay, hold on. We have Chum Bucket. We have Football Junior. We have friggin' that's Still Drop and Voodoo Doll. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's like, oh, the cool characters from this show don't come back because they did well, but this show they didn't finish. Bring them back. I'm the Honey Mustard gang. Rise up, okay? Rise up. We need Honey Mustard in season 3. Otherwise, I am going to be rioting. I'm going to be putting up signs on the street. Be like, ah. But yeah. Overall, hey, I'm excited for it. Animated battle style shows are probably better than object full style shows in general. Yeah, you could really tell in both the way that the last one ended with backgrounds and stuff, and the way that this one just kind of wanted to increase its quality. That like we wanted the quality increase, not just satisfied having the show be bad. And yeah, perfectly fair. I guess we'll see you at the ties episode. That's probably in about 3 seconds. And then we'll see you at the season 3. That, hey, considering how fast the Magic 8 working schedule is, probably also releasing in 4 seconds. I don't know. Next thing. Alright, next up we shall take a look at Nake. Nake is the very cool show in terms of style, in terms of format, in terms of everything that, however, I really wish made sense. It tries to act it out as if it's a puzzle that you have to solve, but it isn't. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not gonna lie. Last time we ended up having, the nacho chips end up getting eliminated after correctly being weird, but telling fans that you must murder the fucking stool. Will they do that? I don't know, because the next episode is titled Nake the Adult. Nothing ever makes sense here, so I'm just ready for nothing. Let's see. Okay, so that is Nake the Adult. So, in this new installment of Does This Series Make Sense? So I say that it seems to be trying. It's trying to give us a little bit more information, right? Because it's like, okay, so Symbol was up for elimination like the past 2 times, right? Despite not appearing in the episodes. It seems to be because apparently they really want to be in the bathroom because they're sensitive about the fact that they have all this dirt on them and they want to try to clean it off. And for some reason, they need to use the bathroom and not go to like that one lake that they had that was there. Like, surely you just do that at some point, right? Surely, just like go take a swim. You'll be fine. But anyways, eventually we end up having Stool call them out to complete it, which is a random character treasure, but it's random for our knowledge. That's the thing. We just don't have enough knowledge about anything that ever happens in this show to be able to say it. Everything is random because nothing is, like, there's not enough explanation to it, right? But yeah, Nake tries, like, we end up getting Nake to half a respect Symbol's wishes to try to unlock the doorknob. They do manage, they're like trying to unlock the doorknob. To be fair, it would probably be kind of difficult for Nake to unlock the doorknob because they don't have arms or limbs, so they're trying to use their tongue and they're just kind of licking it back and forth forever. But yeah, they end up doing that. I don't know what Z key is showing to Tabby. My first prediction was that it might have been a picture of Phantom. However, I don't actually know. It could have been something else because Phantom's not up for elimination. Who's up for elimination? Zeke, Stool, Simple, and Tab. I like how Stool's the one that's like, yes, you aren't doing anything. You've been throwing challenges. Stool, you haven't been safe in like 4 BC. Okay, maybe it makes sense. I don't know. I need to. This is the type of series that's probably only going to make sense when it's over and then you can reconstruct the events, right? Like, that's the only way. Because when you're in the middle of watching it, you're just like, oh, okay, this is how it goes. Oh, okay. I see. Alright then, well, Nake catches COVID, because 19, is the latest episode. Let's see what we're gonna see in it, yippee. Okay, so the puzzle continues. Alright, so, we end up having... Okay, so the main question right now that's of course on the mind is what the hell is Z-Key showing? Because Z-Key shows, Tabivis, which presumably gets eliminated this episode, and then proceeds to they get freaked out. Same thing goes for when they show it to Stool. They get freaked out. So then the question is, they show it to Simba, it's not Halloween anymore. So what are they showing? My prediction was that they were showing Phantom. However, it doesn't seem like they're showing Phantom. They're showing something else. What are they showing? I have not the slightest clue. I'm trying to imagine, what could it be? Because what is Zedkey? Zedkey was always the one who did all the challenges, but now they've completely stopped doing the challenges. I mean, you gotta... Zedkey was a challenger beast. Like, that was the guy for about 5 episodes. So, like, the fact that bro is not doing the challenge, I mean, that something's important about it. And when Stool tries running away, they put them back down. Stool, by the way, has randomly gotten mean, but to be fair, they've been betrayed way more than enough times for the sake of it. You know, if Stool's mean, like, I can't even compare them. I don't know what we're mean to Symbol. Like, but even that, like, I don't know why we're like, basically, being mean, I don't think should constitute doing random bully actions, right, basically. However, I mean, I think it makes quite a bit of sense to have, like Stool turn into a mean character, because, like, they've just been betrayed way too much. But, yeah, I mean, maybe Zedkey saw, like, a monster on the way there? Or was it? Or did Zedkey... Could Zedkey maybe have gotten a glimpse of the elimination place? Because the elimination place was that weird place. No, but how would you have done that? But, like... You weren't even close to getting eliminated. I don't know. You know, I don't know. The onion fella that drops in the river ends up trying to get it. It works, I think. And Symbol, despite trying their best, ends up just fucking drowning. Because they are losing. I mean, they're not gonna get out. Is Phantom getting out? Or no, Stu. Yeah, I haven't predicted this because it doesn't. I just don't know. Like this is the show if they don't know. The thing about this show, it just keeps you in the dust completely, right? Like it just like, okay, figure it out, and then it gives you about 60% of the info that you need to figure it out, right? And it's like, okay, I guess. I mean, there's like. It's like, imagine a 5-minute show, but you're getting 1 minute and a half of it, right? Like, that's what happens, right? And yeah, would I wish for it to change? I would wish for it to show more details, right? Like, I like the way that it's kind of a puzzle, like, what's happening. However, I feel like it kind of doesn't give enough details. Like something like this though is pretty solid. Like individually, I think this episode is pretty solid. You know, because you get to see majority of what's going on. Like you get to ask the question, yo, what is Zedkey doing? Yo, who pressed the button? And then you can figure it out by process of elimination. Who got eliminated? You can probably figure it out by process of elimination, right? And like you can roughly consider it the people who didn't do the challenge or the people who were up above, right? Because now there aren't too many contestants, right? It made less sense before because before there were too many people. So the people that were up for Elam is like, okay, why didn't you do the challenge? We're starting to get those questions a little bit explained. However, it's starting to, you know, it's starting to be a little bit more questionable. However, yeah, I'm kind of enjoying. Did the TV get eliminated? The TV probably got eliminated. But like, yeah, there's stuff going on, right? So I respect it. I think that in the middle zone there was way too many people, and way too much focusing on singular like events for it to really make sense of what the show's doing. But here, now that there's less people, there's a more concise reason, so you can actually piece together a puzzle here. When a couple episodes ago, it was just kind of impossible. You just have to watch this show and go like, yeah, sure, whatever you want, right? That was pretty much what you had to say. But currently, it's like, I think it's picking itself up as there's less to see, and because then there's less potential options, and then it makes sense, right? Okay, that's all for Nick. Next thing. Alright, we're gonna go back to Yellow Emerald because I forgot that there was technically another thing that we must watch from Yellow Emerald. It's the joke shoot that started about 5 years ago titled Battle for BFDIA that progressively kind of throughout the years got to more random episodes. It's technically not despite being called Battle for BFDIA, its cast is not entirely comprised of BFDI members, which means that it officially counts that it counts as a unique show. And there might be one or two similar, but overall, majority of its cast is original, which means that it gets to count. We're gonna start to 5. Look, there's not too deep of a review that needs to be made here. I mean, it's joke show, right? We're starting 5 years ago with Battle for BFDIA 1. Ice Cube gets revenge on herself. Joke show. Okay, that is Battle for BFDIA 1, an interesting joke show, because for being a joke show, it's hardly trying. You know, like, it's kind of... It's playing up the nonchalant gimmick, but the thing about playing the nonchalant gimmick is that jokes don't hit as hard with the nonchalant gimmick, right? Because, like, if you just say jokes, but then in a way where, like, it's not, like, it sounds like you don't care, then it overall lowers the caring. Because the thing about the nonchalant joke is that nonchalant jokes work if they act as a clash, right? If they clash against the regular. However, if it's just the usual, I don't exactly know if I'm feeling this as a joke show right now, because it's like, you know, it's doing a joke show, but it's not playing up any of the joke elements, so it's just kind of not much, right? Like, I think it was like, for example, you know, the button saying, "Oh, you can call me butt." Like, okay, I see the joke, I understand it, but you know, it's like, shouldn't it be played up a little bit more? Shouldn't it be, like, said in a more game show-esque tone? Because, like, it's funnier when it's like, oh, we're really into this, but, like, here it doesn't really feel like we're into the joke. We're kind of just not doing anything. Challenge is to die. Corpsey dies, Ice Cube dies, and then eventually Squidward gets eaten by the evil non-existy, evil non-existy that's a different character, and by Mouth. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, it's okay. There's also not many visual gags going on because it's trying to purposely look bad, but by purposely looking bad, it also loses out on potential jokes in the fun department. I'm not exactly too convinced here, but hey, let's see. Battle for BFDIA 2, which is titled The Funniest Episode in 2 Years. Okay, so that is Battle for BFDIA 2. So, like, this is, it's better. We have improved. It's been 2 years, apparently, since the first episode, which makes it the funniest episode in the last year, haha. But we have a new body for decomposing, because you were called Corpsey, but now you're called Decomposed Corpsey, I guess. New name, new identity, guys. Oh my god, so progressive. But yeah, there's a couple more gags going on here. We play a couple of visual gags, like the number 2 being represented by different mathematical equations. And it does also start playing a little bit more on, like, I think it does a little bit more better the jokes that it's trying to do, right? Because I think that, like, okay, if you're doing the nonchalant thing, you should do the nonchalant thing while something insane is happening. Because in the last episode, not much insane is happening, but here it is, right? So, like, when the Squidward gets being split in half, and it's like, okay, next challenge, right? Like, that ends up being funny because it's such a tonal thing what just happened versus what the reaction to it is, right? Which I think makes sense. We end up having some characters do pretty okay until eventually the host ends up inventing a reason for the team that can't speak to win, because they just say the joke for them and say, "Oh, decomposing? Oh, decomposing! Oh, that's what you meant to say," even though, like, they didn't say anything. Like, you see, it's like, what, are we going insane? Are we schizophrenic? Do you need help? Button, please, do you need... But yes, I mean, what was the joke from the other team? Why did Ice Cube say she wanted revenge? Because she wanted revenge. True. That is facts. And then the other team's final joke ends up being, Beethoven is dead and his music is playing backwards in reverse order. Why is that happening? Because he is decomposing. Okay, I mean, that it's a joke I've heard before, but, like, it's pretty solid. If only the team had, said it. Look, we can We can say that evil non-existy said it. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Wouldn't evil non-existy be existing though? I'm trying to think. What the hell would evil non-existy? I feel like evil non-existy would just be existing. I'm not gonna lie. Whatever. Let's head into episode 3. I'm sorry to chat. My brain is getting fried. Needle gets a real. Which comparatively to the rest of them released 2 years ago instead of 3 years ago. Go. Alright, that is episode 3, and yeah, I mean, I think we're overall improving here, because, like, again, the nonchalant gimmick ends up working out better when more insane stuff's happening. So when we have the show just kind of play along as if half of a person counts, and then it's like, oh, so we have unevenness. If we eliminate half of a person, then that means that there's 4.5 contestants. So there needs to be a total around the number of contestants because half are eliminated. So you split another contestant in half. Or apparently you split evil non-existy in half. So that way you have both teams be half, and then 1.5 people can be. I'm sorry. Like, it's so goofy. And you see, then it's funny. Then it's like, okay, yes, I will give you the power of the haha. All right. But yeah. The eliminated contestant ends up being half a Squidward. So, you know what I find interesting? So Battle for BFDIA 1 got 8 votes. Battle for BFDIA 2. No, Battle for BFDIA 1 got 2 votes. Battle for BFDIA 2 got roughly like 11 votes. However, I find it interesting because these videos have actually like a lot of views. Like, what, 5,000 views, 4,000 views. This one has 6,000 views. And I mean, surely that leads to more than 8 votes. Like, you know, I feel like there would be a lot of votes here. So I'm kind of curious, right? Like, what is going on? When did these views even happen? Right? Because it's like, did these views happen during the runtime of the show? 'Cause, like, there's barely any votes, but I don't know. The challenge is to get real, which Squidward does easily. Needle also does, and apparently, I don't think anybody else does. Which, yeah, because like half, and then Needle, so yeah, 1.5, yeah. And then Levery appears. You know Levery from Mystery Box Madness. OMG, what an epic cameo! I wonder how they got them. Apparently the long lost brother of Button, who's here to split the show. Oh no, is this a teapot? Let's do episode 4, which is titled "You Have Got to Switch." Honestly, I just watched that, and I must admit, I have definitely just watched the A thing. Okay, so yeah, we really decided, okay, that numbers thing was funny. Let's go Omega Ultra Super Alpha Super Omega Nuclear with it. And indeed we do. So, we end up having the eliminated contestant be evil non-existy. The other half, they get eliminated. So goodbye. And then we end up having the final 3.5. However, before it has the final 3.5, we have a Levery show up and be like, "Hey, sup, dudes? I wanna host a show." So they end up hosting the show. So they end up getting a contestant, so they get half of Evil Squidward, which means that they get 0.25 of Evil Squidward, and then they end up having 3.25 contestants in the show. So then, okay, then we end up splitting off 3 quarters, right, 0.75 of Ice Cube. So wait, no, 3 quarters. Wait, am I dumb? How much is 3 quarters? Wait, hold on. 2, 6, 8. Yeah, wouldn't that be 0.80? Wouldn't you have gone 0.80 of a contestant, right? That's what would happen. No? Wait. 7.5, 25. So you would have had 1. No, wait, am I dumb? Hold on. Wait, dude, I'm still not satisfied. Wait, that doesn't count. I want a greater than 1 contestant count at least. Oh, greater than 1. So you're currently at 1. So you need more than 1. So then we end up giving the other 3/8 of the the other ice cube because Needle got mad that they called him Needy. So then we end up having that Levery has 1 because of the 0.25, the 0.75, and then the 3/8. So then there was 1 and 3/8. Okay, so good job, Levery. You're gonna host the best competition ever. And then we have the 2 and 3/8 count, which so we have 1. Sorry, it's late. Okay, this is comedy. All right, this is comedy at midnight. 1 needle, friggin' 1/8 of the thing, and then 2/8. Okay, yeah. Honestly, this is all bars. 2 and 3/8. Who's gonna win? I have no idea. Let's probably Needle. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just the memory now wave would be funny. I don't know if or would the Ice Cube win? I don't. You know, I generally could not be able to tell you. I think I would somehow get it wrong every time. You know, no, Squidward. Squidward wins. Let's say Squidward wins. Time for the last episode of Battle for BFDIA 5, and the one that released for the 5th anniversary 8 days ago. Goodbye forever. Okay, so that is Battle for BFDIA 5. So, yeah, I mean, I like this. I like this. It's doing a lot of those like it's starting to do it. It's starting. It starts and ends, I guess. It does its own like gags while not necessarily pointing them out in like the nonchalant gimmick where like insane things are happening but also not right, and it's like if you realize you'll find it funny like how very obviously there's not even an attempt at line consistency. You just hear it be recorded like different microphones, or like different areas where like you could hear it sometimes on the left ear, sometimes on the right, like it's completely random, right? And then my favorite line, oh my god, I generally paused the video when I was like, in celebration of the 5th episode, we're releasing the 5th anniversary. What? Yes, true, facts, bars, all correct, well, no problems there. The winner ends up being Forgotten-y after the 186 votes, ends up voting 60 of them for them to win. I mean, I think it makes sense. Are they the best contestant to win? I think it is, in my opinion, because it does kind of represent the show in a way, right? In the way where it's like, it was an interesting concept that, despite all odds and being completely a thing that should be forgotten, it ends up kind of just continuing on and building off of its own joke a little bit year by year. I'm not sure if the episodes actually are made year by year. That's actually quite an interesting theory. Like, were they like, was this made near like this date, or was it made like a year ago? I don't know. I guess, I mean, we don't have a way of knowing, but it's kind of interesting. I think Forgotten ends up being quite nice because it manages to because with a lot of these shows, sometimes it's difficult to retain continuity, right? Like year by year, because we're being like things have changed. It's like, oh, it's different now. I decided, right? But it's kind of hard to keep the continuity, and at least in this show there was that continuity kept, right? By doing the corpsey slowly decomposing gag, and then becomes a memory, and after they become a memory they become fully forgotten, and they win the shows by being fully forgotten, and then a biblically accurate angel ends up being there and earning the BFDIA, which BFDIA hadn't been revived yet to win 5 years ago. That's actually true. Now it exists. Buttony apparently says that it's not as good, which I think is an uncommon opinion. I think the average, especially lately, I think the average BFDA episode has been very well received. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's been a while since there's been a BFDA episode that I think has been agreed to be like canned, you know? Like, it's pretty solid, but maybe the joke is the sarcasm, I don't know. But yeah, good job, Botany. Might be one of the greatest characters in Object Show history. And that was Battle for BFDIA. It's one of those goofy little things where it's like, should it exist? Realistically, no. You know, we've got a serious show that we're working on, everything. But it's one of those projects that it's like, even I sometimes relate to this. So it's like, this project is kind of dumb, and I do more real things now. However, it's like, you can't let it go, you know? It's one of those things where it's just like, you gotta embrace you gotta honor the past. You gotta embrace the past sometimes, even if the past was cringe, and you have to let it you know, you have to let a segment of it into the modern era anyways, despite the fact that we're making bigger and better things. Sometimes giving just a little moment to appreciate what we were doing, I think is nice, right? So I appreciate this show. I think it's a nice capsule. It's a nice time capsule that got faithfully followed along, and I think it's cute. Okay, maybe the outro's next. I'll see you next thing. Okay, yeah, I decided that that is going to be it for this episode. Overall, I mean, it's kind of long. It's not like a Omega episode length. However, I've been not expecting to get Omega episode length episodes for a while, because like I kind of batch up so much of that effort into the major ones that I have to do from time to time, like the Object Cringe one, right? Or like that 3-hour video that I did that one time, and it's like, okay, I mean, I kind of just lose the energy after a bit. But yeah, basically the idea here was to do kind of those overbearing chats, right, about like the shows that can kind of fill in, you know, with more than 1,000. Pair those up together, and then the idea is for the next episode we're gonna do the rest, right, all of the ones for the other shows, and that one is probably gonna be quite a big video, quite a big episode. However, yeah, the idea is for us to watch that. Alright, so don't worry about it, we'll get to it all. The idea is for it to be tomorrow. If I don't get that video done tomorrow, I'll probably even delay it rather than upload it anyways. Alright, so yes, that is the current idea, that is the current situation. But yeah, I'm ready to lock in again. You know, I needed a couple of quicker, easier videos after that Object Cringe one, because that Object Cringe one, it was draining. It was a lot of shit, right? So yeah, I am glad to have done it. But the next video, I can confirm it is going to be everything else, every other video from a creator that we know, just to make sure that we know all of that stuff. All right, so yes, I will be getting to all of that stuff in the next episode, which will be episode 70. I know, right? Crazy. This was the funny number episode, and next up will be episode 70. So yeah, for the shows that we watched, we're all caught up. See you next time. Goodbye.